Hey guys, it's Spider Pig again, and this week we're gonna go into part 2 of how to build a panel. So I got some parts, and the first thing I really want to talk about was switches. So right here we have a three-way switch. You can see it's on, off, on, and this one is going to be used for one of the panel things. And right now I have it hooked up to a voltmeter with a continuous kind of loop thing. So what happens if I press this? You'll hear a beep. That means the loop is good. So right now it's in the off position, and if I press this, nothing should happen, as we see. But if I turn, I believe it's this way. I believe it's opposite of what it's geared for. And I do this. Yep. So, and if I did the other on, well, and I did that, it would not show. It's really weird the way it's wired, but it's basically backwards. So if for this on button I have to use this and this, and for that on button I have to use this and that. So it's good to know how these things work, especially like with things like small like this one. Like I would need to know that it's actually on this side. You just pick a side, either this or this side, and connect it from there to the other one to close the loop. So when it's pressed down, the loop is closed. The loop is open basically when electricity flows through all of it, and everything can work. So that's kind of a quick intro to switches. There's many different types of switches, but the first thing I needed was a piece of wood in order to mount the panel on, and I went to Home Depot, and they sell 2x4 pieces of wood. And what I did was I got this kind of wood. It's, I believe, a 1/4 inch thick or 5 millimeters. And the nice thing about Home Depot is if you ask them to cut it, they'll cut it for you. And this one is cut specifically to 8x11, I believe, because if I put down the design that we created, it works really nice. And once I had this at home, I taped basically this little design that I created on to the piece of wood, and I cut the holes out. Now the top holes are 1/2 inch, and these bigger holes are 1 1/8 inch. And basically I drilled it into the wood, and I had the buttons open. So once I had the buttons open, I was able to install the switches and basically use the switch just to see how everything kind of lays out. And it kind of worked out really nicely. What I then did was I kind of put everything together in the back and tighten everything up to make sure it looks good. And you can see in this picture, everything's kind of installed. And once it's installed, I basically put the design I put over it just to make sure everything looks good. I can tweak it a little bit later if I need to. But then I decided that I wanted to make a hole for where the radio buttons would be, so I kind of just made a rough kind of hole for it just to see how it would look. I was able to mount it, and it looked good. Eventually I'll make it look even better with the design, so it's not looking like a little crappy like that. And then just started wiring the ground. Now the way the USB controller works, which I haven't gotten yet, the USB controller basically has a common ground, which means all the switches ground needs to be connected to one connector, and then each button will have its own connector. So as you can see here, everything is kind of going linked together to one common ground. Now I prefer to use solder to kind of hold things together. Even though these are, screw switches, and you can get, there's different types of connectors that work really well with this, I prefer to solder it in. Over the years, I've had, 3 different cockpits that I've built, and I have found that quick connectors tend to fall after a certain amount of usage, and just things get, dislocated after a couple hundreds of usages. So I find that just soldering just helps keeping things in place, and I don't have to fix things as often. It's up to you. If you're comfortable soldering, then go ahead and do it. If not, you can use the screw types with quick connectors and all the different things. So this is the way it kind of looks right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually test to make sure that the ground is working all together. So here is the way the panel looks right now with the ground. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little voltmeter and I am going to connect one switch here. Let's see if I can do this over here. I think that'll work. So as you can see, the black is connected over there. Now if I hit it with the same one, it should beep. You hear it beep? I hope you can hear it beep. You can also see it over there. Yeah. So what I want to make sure is that each one of these, if I press on this, it'll beep. Yep. And over here. Up here. Over here. And down here. And over here. Over here. Over here. And lastly over here. So that means the ground's going all the way around. Now over here you can see it's kind of a big mess because I brought everything from the joystick and from the buttons kind of together over here. But it works because everything's soldered, so it's not going to go anywhere. I can pull on this very tight. It's not going anywhere. And now I know everything works. So when the USB controller gets here, we're probably going to mount it over here somewhere and connect, you know, the other terminals to it. And I still have to do the radio panel. As you can see, it's a lot smaller. And what I need to do is I need to get smaller piece of wire in order to do it. It's going to be a little trickier, so I'll probably record me doing that with the GoPro and kind of see how it goes. But stay tuned for that next week, and we'll see how things go. All right, catch you guys later.